Hi everyone, it's Rachel Mascord again, and I want to share more of my observations and reflections not only on dentistry but on human health. And the reason I want to do that is that I have now been a dentist for 27 years. When I first graduated from university, we were convinced or concerned that by the time we got into the middle years of our professional life, there would be no work left for us to do. There was a lot of hope that fluoride was going to solve tooth decay. Fluoride had been introduced back in 1965 to the water supply in Sydney. And we were really worried that we wouldn't actually have a job to do anymore once this solution had come through and actually fulfilled its promises. So here I am, many years later, 27 years in practice. And what I'm seeing is that there is possibly an overall reduction in tooth decay, certainly from the 1950s when it reached quite alarming proportions and levels. And dentists could barely keep up. Like they were drilling all day, every day, just trying to maintain the huge tsunami of tooth decay. But interestingly, in 2018, I'm still busy and I'm still treating tooth decay. I'm treating it in children, and the figures are quite alarming. I think it's something like 50% of children under the age of 12 have decay in at least one of their adult teeth. If I've got that wrong, I'll find a way to correct it for you. But regardless, it's still an alarming amount of decay in children. I'm treating decay in people in their 20s, people in their 30s and 40s and 50s. And then what we start to see is another surge, another burst of decay when people reach their older years, their 70s and 80s. That's a different kind of decay, interestingly, and it's one that's incredibly difficult to treat because it's very undermining of the tooth structure. And so in the older person, when they get tooth decay, the decay can ring bark their teeth. I don't know if you know that expression, ring bark, but it's a technique that was used to cut down trees where the tree lopper would make a cut around the trunk and it would weaken the tree and eventually it would die and fall over. It's a way of saving using an axe. But it's also very destructive to teeth when that kind of thing takes place. So what's going on? Surely we need to ask the question, what's going on? If we've got a compound in the water that is meant to at least slow down or reduce the rate of decay, why am I still treating decay? I ask this question every day of myself and my patients, and I ask it of my profession. And there are many answers. And by the way, this is not going to be a discussion about fluoride. So any people that want to imply that I'm an anti-fluoridationist can just settle down, because I'm actually not particularly anti-fluoride. I think fluoride is just one of many things that we do to ourselves that are extremely unhelpful to the general well-being of our body. But it's not a stand that I'm particularly firmly taking. I think as human beings we need to really sort ourselves out on many levels. Stopping smoking would be a good one. But I digress. One of the things that I find interesting is that for all of our progression and all of our advancements in our medication, and fluoridation is one example, whether you like it or hate it, we've got it in Sydney anyway. But one of the things that we're not looking at is our diet. Now, okay, I won't use the word diet. That has all sorts of connotations. We don't look at the way we eat. And the modern diet is basically one of the best diets you could come up with if you want to create diabetes, heart disease, chronic inflammation, exacerbate your arthritis, and give yourself tooth decay. We are so unable to, as a community, seriously address the problem that we have with excessive sugars. It's causing obesity, it's contributing to the rate of diabetes, although apparently in medicine there's still contention about that. I can't believe that that's even possible, but apparently that's the case. But there's really something here that we need to ask, and we need to even ask it in the context of all animal species. Human beings are quite unique in that we have extraordinary rates of tooth rot. Now, I'm calling it that because tooth decay sounds sort of like something people get, and it's sort of okay in some way because other people get it. But when you consider that we eat food that rots our teeth, that rots the hardest substance in our body, we wreck it with food. We've got to start asking some really earnest questions here, really take these questions to heart and start to consider what is going on and why are we doing things to ourselves that are essentially harming and end up costing us a lot of money. Plus, I don't know anyone that loves going to the dentist and loves having dental treatment. No one ever says that to me. So wouldn't it be an incredible thing if we, rather than getting cranky with the dentist or being upset about time we have to spend in the dental chair, wouldn't it be wonderful to take that energy and that consideration and put it towards what we can do to really take care of ourselves? One of the things that I have often said to my patients is that I would dearly like to retire on the basis that my services are no longer needed. And I don't know if anyone takes me seriously, but honestly, as a dentist, I cannot think of anything more wonderful than actually not being needed anymore, because people are taking such extraordinary care of themselves from the point of view of the way they brush and clean, but also the way they eat, to eat in a way that's actually considerate to our body. It sounds like a revelation, but it's actually quite simple. As long as you are prepared for the fact that reducing sugars is not the easiest thing in the world. And anyone who's gone through a process of reducing their sugar intake will tell you exactly the same thing. They will say to you, it's kind of tough. And that's when you start to realize that sugars are not only are they destructive to our health, they're also darned addictive. And I know many years ago I went through a process, firstly, of just reducing sugar. And the headaches and the mood swings were not lovely to be around. I was not a nice person for a period of time. And it wasn't pretty, but my God, was it worth it. Not just because of my teeth, because the way I was going, I was probably not going to have any teeth left. I was a serious sugar addict. But from the point of view of a general sense of well-being, you see, that's the thing that matters to me in the end. As a dentist, I can give you whiter teeth, I can do cosmetic things, I can treat holes in your teeth, I can do all sorts of things to fix your technical problems. But one thing I always come back to is the state of being. So if I'm fixing your teeth, if I'm drilling out decay, putting in a beautiful filling, getting you healthy again, or sometimes I might have to do a root canal treatment, whatever it is, if I have to do that treatment for you, that's all very well and good. But what's next? What's the next step after that? Because if something doesn't change in terms of the way you, as the person receiving care, if something doesn't change in the way you're treating yourself, then it's only a matter of time before you're back in my chair and we're doing the same thing again. Now, that's great for me because it keeps me busy. But it's not great when you consider that you have a body, you have a being within that body, and that there is a quality that that being and that body can live with. So we have a choice, in essence. We can go from situation and situation and problem, on and on, fixing and repairing and all of those things. Or we can use those things as a stop moment, preferably not when it's got to a root canal treatment, or worse still, the fourth root canal treatment. But before that, we can just take a moment to stop and deeply consider what that incident signifies. What is it revealing to you about the choices you're making and the way you're living? No blame, no judgment, no critique, absolutely no criticism. Just a moment of self-reflection to consider that your body is showing you something. And not only is it showing you something, it's also revealing the next steps you can take, the next course of action. Now, from personal experience, I would not recommend listening to this and then going cold turkey on sugar. That's cruel. If you are a big sugar consumer, your whole physiology is geared towards that fuel. It'd be like taking your petrol car and going and putting diesel in it. It's not going to go well. I don't recommend that under any circumstances. But what if you were to start to look at the way you can very caringly and sensitively adjust that and start to bring the sugar levels down over a period of time? It's worth considering, especially if you don't like going to the dentist. That shouldn't be your only reason. And in fact, that really shouldn't be your reason at all. Because there's something here for us to understand. It may be very common to eat a particular kind of diet, but let's be honest about the state of health of humanity. And that means our immediate family, it means our cousins, it means our friends. Let's take a very astute look at what's going on in the world and really consider whether what we're seeing is a reflection of good health and well-being or whether it isn't. Our normal way of being is not working for us. And if it takes a hole in a tooth or a couple of holes in your teeth to start to bring this message home so that then you start to go, oh, hold on, maybe I need to do something differently, then I tell you what, if it's enough to motivate that transition towards change, towards a diet that's actually more harmonious to your body, then frankly, welcome that tooth decay because it's giving you a great message. And if you don't have a hole in your teeth and you're one of those people that seems to get away with all of the sugar, then start to take a deeper consideration of how you're actually feeling, how you're sleeping, how your body is in life. Are you running from lows to a sugary snack, back into another low, and then constantly living on that crazy sugar cycle, which is not a great way to live, believe me, I did it for years. There are always messages that our body is sending us. And I guess that's the thing that makes me most respectful of the body and most loving towards the body, is that it is always delivering us information and messages that are worth considering. So, what's the take-home message from today? In spite of all of the great advances and great science we've got, human beings still need to start, all of us need to start to look at how we are running these bodies. Are we doing it in a way that's harmonious to the body, or are we run by our taste buds and 5 seconds of something nice tasting in our mouth? I used to live on the 5 seconds of nice. And I'm not saying, I don't have any tickets on myself for making the change. What I will say to everyone, though, is it is so worth considering making a change, especially one that is very, very much more respectful towards this pretty fabulous thing we've got called the human body. Anyway, if you have any questions, please feel free to post them at the bottom. I'm happy to answer questions about forms of sugar as well, and what can we get away with, what's okay and what's not. I might do a talk on that quite soon. And I look forward to speaking with you all again. Thank you very much.